Now that our hero Yuta has an idea of how dangerous the Kali monsters are, he is ready to offer his services to the cute and curvy babes of his new world. However, Momo wants to literally use him as a tool, so it's a bit messed up. Anyway, it's time for the team to set out on their new mission, and then we shift to Yuta checking out some of the weapons in the artillery. There are lots of options for him to choose from, but the main problem is that all of them are mostly ancient, and most likely would not be any good in battle. Our hero laments that the skills of metal crafting have been lost in this world, but that's probably because all of its residents are women. However, Yuta also takes note of the fact that the women of this world only live till the age of 20, so it's not likely for them to pass on any skills to the next generation. Also, with such an age bracket, the main men who would love to come here would be Drake or Leonardo DiCaprio. Now, Yuta reminds himself that he will need to defeat the god of deep jealousy because that is the only way for him to free the girls of the curse that makes them pass away so early. In any case, Yuta does not have a lot of information on this god, so he'll have to keep his eyes and ears wide open during today's scouting. As the team prepares to leave, Lilia is told that she will have to stay behind because there's no way the entire quintet can leave the city unprotected. Lilia does not have a problem with this because her powers are mostly suited towards defense. She wishes the girls all the best, and then all of them move out with Yuta. Our hero knows that he will have to be careful not to touch any of the girls because that could lead them to uncontrollable intrusive thoughts. The team enters the forest, but Yuta wants to know how far the Ember Rock mining site is. Misaki says that if all goes well, then everyone will be able to make it back to the castle before it's time for dinner. Going one way takes roughly half a day, so our hero is looking at a full day's worth of walking. He asks Misaki if they have packed any lunch, but he is told that nobody is carrying any food. They are to eat whatever they find on the way, which is less than ideal. Momo says not to worry because there are fruits to pick and even fishes to roast, as this forest does not discriminate when it comes to feeding its occupants. At the same time, if any of these people let their guard down, they will become instant meals for monsters as well. Suddenly Lumi draws her sword, so Yuta asks her why she is doing this. That is when the entire team notices a massive monster that has suddenly appeared in front of them from the river. Yuta is shocked by this beast's appearance and wants to know how such a thing can even exist. However, Misaki's mouth starts to drool and she says that the monster looks delicious, which is most definitely a questionable statement. Suddenly, the massive monster drops its head onto the soil, and this makes the girls alert. They tell Yuta that this is a Giga Salamander which emits a poisonous fog when it comes to the land. On top of that, the fog is also used to double up as a smoke screen. Just as they say this, the Giga Salamander unleashes its fog, which makes the girls panic. They don't know how to tackle this mess, but Yuta has an idea. He tells Misaki to run upwind, and even though the monster chases them, it is not that fast on land, so they are able to escape. Eventually, Misaki and Yuta reach safety, but they seem to have gotten separated from the other three girls. Our hero is a bit worried, but Misaki says that they will all meet at the same destination. The duo now moves along the river and Yuta decides to make small talk. He asks Misaki if she is the leader of the quintet, and this surprises her. Our hero says that she does act as sort of a leader to the other girls, but she maintains that they have never chosen any leader as such. She is just there to make sure things are held together, but Yuta knows that if there were to be an election, then Misaki's votes would outnumber Trump and Harris combined. Now, Misaki asks Yuta which country he comes from, so he tells her that he's from Japan. Misaki wants to know more about it, but our hero can only say that it's definitely not on this planet. Misaki says that she has heard rumors about such things happening every now and then, but this is her first time actually meeting someone who is from another world. That fact that this person is a man only makes things more interesting for her. Yuta now drops a massive bomb on Misaki, telling her that the place where he's from, men are not at all rare. As a matter of fact, half of humanity comprises of men back in his world, which is something that Misaki finds very hard to believe. She says that such a world must be terrifying, but this sounds more like an insult than concern. Yuta asks her why she is saying this, and she explains that she is feeling uncomfortable even now simply because she is next to a man. After all, Yuta can only remind Misaki of the Kali monster who took her sister's life. Gauging from her reaction, our hero feels that Misaki won't have any intrusive thoughts even if he were to touch her, so he is safe from shady activities for now. Yuta tells Misaki that he's feeling a bit hungry now, and she says it's a good thing because their lunch has just appeared in the form of some werewolf monsters. They look deadly, but our hero is more concerned over the fact that he and Misaki are going to eat their flesh. She asks Yuta if he knows how to fight, which comes across as an odd question to him. Misaki explains that every monster in this world has a weak point, and for the werewolf monsters, it's their Adam's apple. She adds that if Yuta strikes the Adam's apple, then he can finish off the monsters in one strike, but it will not leave behind any meat. This is why he should either aim for the head or the heart, but our hero goes on to destroy a werewolf by directly slashing its Adam's apple. This causes the werewolf to disappear, and Misaki gets shocked by what she has just seen. She berates Yuta for not listening to her instructions, but he tells her to shut up because he has no intention of eating a werewolf's meat. Misaki is confused because Yuta had said that he was hungry, but he explains that he won't eat anything just because he is feeling hungry. Our hero suggests going to the river and catching some fish, but Misaki says that the river is only full of giga salamanders. Yuta does not like the sound of this, as Misaki takes down another werewolf by stabbing it in the heart. With the monsters dealt with, there is one werewolf body which can be used for cooking, so Misaki tells Yuta not to worry about the flavor of the meat. She is good when it comes to preparing dishes, which means that she does spend time in the kitchen like a useful woman. Misaki says that she will treat Yuta to some werewolf sashimi, but the very sound of the dish makes him feel a bit uncomfortable. Misaki opens up the werewolf's insides, and it looks horrible to Yuta, so he can't take it anymore. He destroys this body as well by slashing the Adam's apple, but Misaki does not understand why our hero has just taken away their one chance to eat something. He simply says that what she was doing was not cooking, but rather an autopsy. Misaki gets upset and complains that the meat is actually good, and there was no need to do what Yuta did. She adds that she really wanted to treat Yuta to something good because he came from another world, which shows a different side to her. Our hero realizes that he may have made the wrong judgment simply by looking at the appearance of the meat. Misaki turns her head and says that this is why she hates men, which in this case is a fair reaction. Yuta apologizes for being so brash, and he promises to eat the next werewolf they run into. All of a sudden, Misaki lights up and says that she will definitely treat Yuta. This is the first time our hero has seen Misaki smile, and he realizes that she is actually very cute when she is not being so serious. He comments that Misaki does seem to be the reliable kind, and the best part is that she is 18, which makes her the same age as him while also keeping her safe from Drake. Now, Misaki prepares her knives and says that werewolf meat is delicious, especially when it is eaten raw. There is no need to argue about the meat anymore, so Yuta decides it's time for them to move on and head for the mines. However, as he says this, our hero slips on the moss on one of the rocks and falls into the river. Misaki is a bit confused, and she asks him what he is doing, but he says that he's a city kid, so he is not used to the paths of the forest. He doesn't look very heroic now, so Misaki gives him a hand and pulls him out of the water. However, this does something to her and she lets go of him immediately, thus making Yuta look like a fool twice. He gets upset and asks Misaki why she let his hand go, but then he realizes that he had forgotten something very important. Since Misaki has touched him, her kitty water elixir is now overflowing and she is being overcome by intrusive thoughts. Our hero does not seem too bothered by this, because he knows that he will have to mate with Misaki eventually to save her life. Yuta gets out of the water and stands in front of Misaki, who is going through a lot of feelings right now. She can't understand what is happening to her curvy body, as she has never really experienced such a thing before in her life. Of course, this is simply because she has touched a man, and it leads her to want to engage in shady activities. Yuta is watching her, so she tries her best to control her fingers, but there's only so much you can do to counter intrusive thoughts as powerful as these. Misaki gives into the wet side and starts to feel good, but she is aware that Yuta is watching, which makes the whole thing very embarrassing to her. Misaki knows that she can't be doing such things, but her have a mind of their own. Misaki pleads with Yuta not to watch her in this sensitive situation, and it becomes really tough for her. However, our hero is now more giga than the salamander they just ran away from. He calmly looks at Misaki and tells her that while she's at it, they might as well save her life. He instructs her to make it easy for his elephant to meet her kitty, but she tells him not to mock her like this. After all, he is the reason she is feeling this way, so she continues to say that she hates males. Yuta says that he is fine with doing shady things only if Misaki is fine with it as well, but she worries about what may happen to her. Even so, she can't help the feeling of wanting to mate, so when Yuta tells her to get up and leave with him for the mines, she is hesitant. Misaki says that she can never allow herself to have feelings for a male, and Yuta casually agrees with her, after which he tells her they must leave now. However, she remains confused, so Yuta gives her a demo of the Tongue Twister 3000. He then tells Misaki that he knows she wants to mate, but she argues that it is absolutely not the case. Misaki continues to blush, so Yuta tells her there is no need to keep up appearances in front of him. After all, since she is feeling so shady, it won't be a problem to prepare her body for our hero. What follows is a range of unspeakable acts, and Misaki can't help herself at all. Yuta tells her to admit that she desperately wants with him, and then he mocks her desires. He wants Misaki to beg him for his elephant, and she is about to say it as well, but then she stops herself. She tells Yuta not to make a fool of her, because she will never beg him or any other man for such a thing. Misaki declares that our hero will never make a fool of her, so he apologizes for getting carried away by his own intrusive thoughts. On that note, he decides they should actually get going now, but before he can walk away, Misaki holds onto his shirt. She apologizes for resisting him and begs him not to leave her in this state. She continues to him with her and plant his inside her kitty. She even shouts out loud that she wants you to see, and she will no longer keep up appearances. Our hero is proud of Misaki for allowing him to save her life, and what follows simply cannot be put into words. Misaki makes the face of a crazed maniac and says that what's happening to her feels extremely good. She keeps thinking to herself that she is really happy right now, but what she does not realize is that Lumi and the other girls are right there and enjoying the show behind a rock-hard boulder. The girls can't believe what they are seeing, but it is quite clear that Misaki has given in to her base desires. She even tells Yuta that she loves him while they are in the middle of their shady activities. What's even more shocking is that Misaki is the most and composed girl out of the quintet, but as of now, she is the wildest. Of course, watching such intense action makes the other girls also feel some type of way, and looks like a lot of fun to them. Lumi starts to feel her kitty elixir fill up her, and she keeps looking at our hero as if she wants to join in on the fun. Momo is still in amazement over the phenomenon but right now, it's Lumi who needs to be kept in check. She is asked as to why she is behaving this way, but she states that the other girls have no idea about anything because they have not experienced it yet. After all, she was the first girl who got to with our hero, so she is feeling left out the most. She goes on to say that it feels really good when Yuta does shady things to her, and this shocks both the babes. Now, Yuta decides to unleash his own elephant water, and then Misaki passes out from having experienced multiple explosions. Yuta can see that even her neck has a mark around it now, meaning Misaki has been saved from the curse as well. Our hero is glad that he has been able to rescue two cute girls, but the problem is that this is a rather tough task. Meanwhile, the other girls who have been untouched continue to wonder if really as good as it looked right now. However, things take a turn for the worst when a Kali monster shows up out of nowhere. The Kali wastes no time in launching its first attack, but Lumi and Momo manage to dodge the attack. Lumi gets ready to launch her own attack on the monsters, but she gets whacked in the stomach and is sent flying away. As Lumi crashes to the ground, Momo tries to counter these beasts with her own strength. She is able to put up something of a fight, but laments that it was really careless of the girls to have gotten so engrossed with the act. She tries to knee the Kali monster, but this doesn't really do anything to it. Instead, the beast opens its mouth and reveals a weird worm creature that springs out of it. The Kali monster now tries to put this work into Momo's mouth, which is disgusting even from a Diddy angle. Lumi worries for Momo and calls out to her out of concern, but luckily for her, a sword passes through the Kali monster and its tongue. Someone seems to have stabbed the monster from behind, and this is all it takes for it to vanish into thin air. As expected, the person who just saved Momo is none other than Yuta himself. He does not have a shirt on, but still apologizes to the girls for taking so much time to put his pants back on. Anyway, now that he's here, our hero tells the girls to fall back and relax, because he will do all the fighting now. He tells them that the quintet has always had to fight for the others because there were only girls in this world. However, now that a man has appeared, it's time for him to show the women how it's really done. Yuta strikes a very heroic pose and tells the quintet girls that he will protect them from now on. Lumi and the others can't believe what they are hearing, and it looks like Yuta has managed to raise them up without even relying on the power of his touch. As he prepares to fight the Kali monsters, Yuta can see that they have paused in front of him. It does not take long for them to start acting weird again, and they let out the word Byra once again in excessively loud fashion. On that note, the Kali monsters turn around and walk away while screaming the same word over and over again. The girls can't believe that the Kali monsters are actually walking away due to the mere presence of a man in front of them. It's the first time they are witnessing such a sight, but the most disappointed person right now is none other than Yuta himself. He did not expect the monsters to turn their backs on him so easily, and now he is feeling very embarrassed because he struck a very heroic pose for nothing. Momo apologizes to Yuta for being so unaware of the Kali monsters and letting them sneak up behind them. Our hero calls her out by saying this was only because they wanted to continue watching him with Misaki. As he says this, Misaki also shows up in her clothes while still trying to recover from all the unspeakable acts she had performed with her new lover boy. Misaki goes on to hold our hero's arm and tells him that she loves him with passion. The one person who's super shocked by this is none other than Lumi because she was the first of our hero. She demands Misaki to explain what she is doing and saying, but she answers that such a thing can't be helped anymore. After all, the moment her body became one with Yuta's, she realized that she is just meat who has been brought to this world to with our hero. Of course, this is a bit too extreme even by Andrew Tate standards, but Misaki maintains that she will continue to be next to Yuta at all times. This is because she needs to be ready for whenever her master would like to with her. As expected, Lumi is not having any of this, and she tells Misaki that she is being ridiculous. After all, she is the one who believes herself to be Yuta's true mate, but the other girls are not too interested in this competition, so they walk away from the scene. Now, it's time to get back to the main mission at hand, which is to reach the mine, and the team eventually does manage to make it there. Of course, Yuta is a bit confused, because the opening to the cave is quite massive. This is where ember rocks get mined, and it's really hot in the area, as pointed out by Yuta. However, Lumi says that it will only get hotter inside the cave because ember rocks are known to emit a ridiculous kind of heat. The other girls argue that if they start with the mining now, then the sun will set by the time they are done. This would be way too dangerous for the team, because night time is when the monsters come to life. The girls say that a lot of time was lost due to the mating, which makes Yuta look shady, but he tells them that they should have stopped him if that was the case. After all, they enjoyed the view more than anything else, so they should just save their tears for another day. Momo suggests camping here for the night because the ember rocks will keep the entire group warm anyway. This is a good idea because the team members can keep a watch turn by turn. Also, there is a river nearby, so catching fish for food will not be a problem either. Our hero feels hungry again, and he complains that he has only had one fruit the entire day. Misaki readily says that she will prepare something for her new lover boy, but this alerts the other girls, so they tell her not to worry about it and just sit tight. She does not understand why people are so skeptical of her cooking, but she plays along, and then the team gets busy gathering food for the night. Yuta can be seen getting busy with the fishes, while Lumi sets her eyes on the juicy fruits around the forest. After a long, arduous session of hard work, our hero and his girls sit around a fire to enjoy their meal together. Yuta takes one bite of the fish and he immediately falls in love with it. He comments that it's impossible for a fish to have such fat and flavor in it naturally, so he asks the girls what kind of specimen it is. Misaki calls it the fatty sweet fish, which, as our hero rightly puts it, does sound like a rather unappetizing naming sense. Lumi shows up with her fruit collection now, and she tells Yuta that they are quite juicy and delicious, just like her pillows and her kitty. Yuta wants to know what's so special about it, so he takes a bite, but he quickly realizes that there is nothing to write home about the fruit. As is the case with any kind of vegan food, this only sets him up for disappointment. Now, Yuta shifts his focus to Haru, who has some ember rocks in her hand. Our hero is quite curious to know more about these stones, so Haru cracks one open and shows the flames glowing from inside of the stone. Yuta can't believe the amount of energy that is emanating from the stone just by coming in contact with air. Haru states that the ember rocks which they can mine in this area have a low purity level. If they are to consider ember rock crystals which have a high purity level, even the small ones can burn for as long as 50 whole years. Misaki then comments that the rocks live much longer than the girls of this world. Of course, Yuta knows that this is not true, so he decides to reveal the truth to all the girls in front of him. He declares that Misaki will continue to live on for much longer, even after the age of 20. This comes as a huge shock to all the girls, so they demand an explanation for what our hero has just said. Now, Yuta reveals what the bird god named Genius had told him about the people of this world. He states that the reason why the girls of this world pass away at the mere age of 20 is because of a curse inflicted by the god of deep jealousy. The girls are told that if they end up mating with our hero, then they will no longer have a limited lifespan. Momo and Haru can't believe what they are hearing, so they ask the other girls if this is true since they are the ones who mated with Yuta. Our hero simply tells them that they should ask the bird god about this. However, he does add that the marks on Lumi's and Misaki's neck are indicators that they have been freed from the curse. Momo is still in shock because she can finally imagine a life where age is not a barrier to her. Lumi and Misaki don't say anything, but Yuta declares that in the interest of heroism, he must mate with as many girls as he can in this world. Of course, even his elephant has a limit, so he won't be able to save everyone. However, Genius did tell him that the quickest way to save everyone would be to end the god of deep jealousy. Our hero believes that he was called to this world for this exact reason, and he has a huge responsibility on his shoulders. Yuta needs more information of the god of deep jealousy, so he asks the girls if they have ever come across any information about him. However, this seems to be the first time they are even hearing of such a god, so they are completely clueless. Lumi suggests asking Genius for more information, but our hero laments that the bird god is too silly and aloof in nature, so there's no telling when he might pop up. He asks if there is any fixed method of finding Genius, so Lumi explains that there is a shrine for the bird god near the city of Meath. If Yuta is to wait for a few days over there, then he will most definitely be able to meet Genius. Our hero has no other choice but to follow this tactic now, but then Genius randomly shows up once again in typical bird fashion. Yuta comments that the bird god is indeed whimsical, but Genius says that he needs to keep up with his daily hustle. Now, when it comes to the god of deep jealousy, even Genius does not seem to know a lot, but there is a shrine in the city of Lilu which worships this god, so our hero might be able to find answers there. The girls discuss the city of Lilu amongst themselves, and Yuta asks them if it is far from here. Lumi explains that Lilu is indeed far, but they will be able to reach it by foot within 3 days. Momo now asks Genius if it is true that they will be freed from the curse if they with Yuta, to which the bird god replies with confirmation. Genius seems to have a third leg, and that is not a dirty joke, but rather the truth. He then explains that he is a god who is bound to this land, so he can't really travel around the world like Daft Punk. His experience may be limited, but then he turns to Yuta and tells him that he is quite different. As long as he has the will to do it, he will be able to travel anywhere he wishes, and that too on his feet, not via Taylor Swift's private jets. Since our hero has boundless potential, the bird god tells him that he is leaving everything in his hands, after which he vanishes again like Houdini. Now, the team is left to themselves again, and it's time to sleep. Misaki says that she will stay on watch duty while everyone else sleeps, because she feels like her mating wildness was the cause for their inability to make it back home on time. Yuta says that if the mating was the cause, then he is also to blame since he let out way too many intrusive thoughts. He offers to take turns while sleeping between himself and Misaki, which sounds fair to Momo. Time passes by as everyone sleeps, and then Yuta wakes up to keep a watch. He feels that he has slept way too long, but that's only natural after he put in all the work during his shady activities with Misaki. He goes to her and says it's time to switch places, which makes her relieved that even she can rest after losing so much kitty water elixir today. Now, Misaki is feeling a bit shy as she tries to talk to Yuta about something important. She eventually apologizes for all the weird things she had said, well as after the unspeakable acts they engaged in. She then asks our hero to forget whatever she told him, even though she really meant what she said. Of course, Misaki is feeling really embarrassed about the whole thing, so Yuta plays along and asks her about what she is even saying. This puts Misaki at ease, and then Yuta keeps watch, but the shady activities really have taken a toll on him, so he goes back to sleep. He curses himself for not being able to stay awake during such a crucial time, but then he also realizes that he has been tied to a tree trunk. That's when Momo appears out of the blue and looks like a proper villainess. She tells Yuta to stay quiet, but he does not understand why he is being kept as a prisoner. Momo states that he should not say anything, otherwise Lumi and the others will find out what's happening. She then holds our hero's face close to hers and says that he will now be with her, although she could have simply asked him for it first. Momo does seem to have a very shady smile while she says this, but our hero does not understand the need for her to act so creepy with him. He tells her that she does not need to tie him up for such things, unless that's what gets her engine roaring. Yuta also says that he will be more than happy to with Momo tomorrow when they get back to the city. However, Momo says no to this idea because who knows what tomorrow has in store for us. Momo says that she is a very cautious woman, so she is not going to let Yuta's mood affect her life. Now that she is done explaining her intentions, Momo takes off her gloves and decides to touch Yuta, who has become infamous for turning girls into intrusive monsters. One touch is all it takes for her to fall in love with our hero from a shady angle. The surge of shoddiness fills up Momo's body faster than Diddy's baby oil, and she begins to lose control of herself. She is still trying to figure out what this sensation is, but it is fair to say that the diddler within her has awakened. What follows is a display of her tongue twister 500, but Yuta asks her if she intends on getting down to business. Momo realizes that she got carried away, so she quickly slips it down and takes a look at Yuta's elephant. She is surprised by what she sees, but our hero tells her she should know such things. He then says that since he's tied up, he can't really do anything by himself. Momo will have to do all the work if she wants to get done with business now, so she does as Yuta says. What follows is a range of shady activities, but Momo is not too sure of what to do, so she asks our hero for further guidance. This is feeling a lot better than Momo could have ever imagined, and she lets out the beast within her. She can't stop at all, and it looks as if her's moving on its own to get what it wants. Momo thinks that she's being slick by tying up Yuta and doing it away from the cave, but her efforts seem to have failed because both Lumi and Misaki are very much awake, as is Haru. Yuta asks Momo why she is shaking so much, because she usually likes to act high and mighty. She tells him to shut up, but Yuta is in Giga Chad mode, so he tells her that she is just a simple girl who can't control her intrusive thoughts at the end of the day. Momo tells our hero to shut up again because she is going to explode, but he does her one better and says that even he will unleash his elephant water into her. She begs him not to do it, but he says that she is the one doing all the moving, so it's not like he can stop it if he wants to. A massive explosion follows, and Momo passes out from the intensity of it. She wheezes away from all the insane sensations, and it doesn't look like she's going to get up for a while. Yuta is pleased to see what he was able to do to Momo, even though his hands were tied up. This actually made things easier for our hero, so he could probably get used to such things. Now, he asks Momo if she can untie him because he needs to hide his elephant. However, the problem is that Momo is completely down and out for the count, so she will not be able to move at all. Yuta continues to call out to her, but it is of no use, so he will have to stay like this until morning. The next day arrives, and we can see our hero coming back to the main city with his girls. The residents are happy to see that the quintet has made their way back, and Haru can be seen carrying the hot amber stones in a sack. Lilia is very happy to see everyone back safe and sound, so she welcomes them with a cute smile. She notices that the team has brought back a lot of ember rocks, so they must have had a long journey. She says that the quintet should now get some rest, but she notices something new about Misaki as well as Momo. The marks on their necks are quite visible and Lilia is shocked to see them. She wants to know why these two girls have the marks on their necks, but she does not get any response from them directly. This is when Lilia realizes that Yuta has it with both Misaki as well as Momo. This brings her to tears because she remembers when our hero refused to do it with her when she had desperately asked him to do so. Disappointed and heartbroken, Lilia runs away from the scene and keeps calling Yuta a jerk, so he has to run after her. Our hero says that he is ready to with Lilia right now, but it only leads to a hilarious situation, all while Haru remains clueless as to what is going on. Before we move on to the next chapter, it's time for a special flashback to when Yuta first appeared in this world. We can see Haru chopping some wood while Lilia tends to some goats. Lumi shows up with some fruits and asks Haru if this is hard work for her. She agrees, but says that she does not mind putting in the labor. Lilia states that such efforts would not be needed if they were able to go to the pyrophosphate mines. However, with the Kali attacks on the rise, going to the mines is most definitely not an option. Life clearly does not get any easier for the girls, because while the goats may leave behind children, the girls are not able to do the same. There is no memory of their names or anything else, and they just become forgotten babes in the longer scheme of things. Misaki also gets involved in the conversation when the girls talk about their purpose in this world. Lilia continues to feed a goat and wonders how life would turn out for them if there were men in this world. Momo says that there is no point pondering about such things, because they will just have to make do with what they have right now. After all, their world has only seen human girls for thousands of years, and it does not look like things are going to change anytime soon. Momo adds that if a man were to show up in this world right now, then he would have only made things tougher for them. Lumi agrees and says that if she were to ever come across a man, then she would probably stab him, mistaking him to be a Kali monster. Lilia has a different opinion because she feels life would be better with men around, proving herself to be a worthy woman. After all, dogs and cats have their own male counterparts, but it's only the humans who don't have it in this world. Lilia does not understand why it's only the humans who have been left out from all the other living beings, and talks about how males would make life easier for the females. Looking at the female animals wagging their tails to attract males also gets Lilia very curious. Lumi asks Misaki what she thinks of males in general, but she states that she only looks at them as another form of Kali monsters. On that note, Misaki slashes down a dummy Kali scarecrow to further showcase her hatred towards males. She reiterates that she will never spare a man who comes in front of her, although the future has gone on to prove otherwise. Misaki then clarifies that she can't guarantee her hostility because she has never seen a man in real life. She then goes on to joke that she might even mate with a man, just like the animals. However, both Momo and Lumi are uncomfortable with that thought, as they can't even imagine Misaki engaging in shady acts. All this talk about mating is getting Lilia to feel some kind of way, as can be seen in her posture. Lumi can see Lilia squatting weirdly, so she asks her what's wrong. Lilia only says that she remembered something she had seen in a library book. It's at this moment when Haru states that even she has read the same book. Of course, this causes Lilia to panic, but Haru does not say anything alarming. She talks about seeing images of humans pairing off with each other and raising children together in peace. Haru recalls that the people shown in these images were very much happy, so it does not look like men would be a problem to society. The other girls agree with her, which makes them more sensible than a modern woman on Earth. Haru then declares that if they did have men in this world, then the girls would be able to live happier lives than they do now. Now, we move to the night time where Lulu is sitting at the top of the castle and gazing at the stars. Suddenly, she sees a flash of light from far away and becomes alert, but the flash becomes a bit too overwhelming for her to handle. Lumi wonders what this flash of light could be, and then she rushes down the stairs to find Misaki, who also wants to know what just happened. Lumi feels that it could be the will-o-wisps fighting in the forest, but she still needs to go to the forest to check it out. At this moment, Genius also shows up out of nowhere and says that he will come along with Lumi because he has a bad feeling about the flash of light. Now, we shift to the forest itself where a boy wakes up to the chirping of birds around him. He wants to know where he is, and this is how our story began all the way back in part 1 of the series. Now, we move back to the present where Lilia is running away from Yuta while calling him a jerk. He runs behind her, stating that he is willing to make up for his past mistakes. This chase happens in the open, with all the other girls of the city walking around them. Yuta does not give up the chase, and he notices Lilia running into a room, after which she slams the door. Our hero follows her inside and finds this to be Lilia's room. She is sitting on her bed, looking sad and gloomy over what she has just learned. Yuta is pleased to see this, as it indicates that Lilia is ready to engage in shady activities. He sits down next to her, which makes her blush even more, but he says that she should know the drill by now. He orders Lilia to prepare her for him, but this makes her blush a lot with hesitation. Anyway, she still goes through with it and shows her curves to Yuta in all their glory. Lilia says that she will do whatever our hero tells her to do, but Yuta has a lot of other things on his mind. His mind is feeling dizzy because of Lilia's citric scent, and he still can't believe that his body count is increasing so rapidly when he was just an untouched boy a day or so ago. Our hero also dives in for a proper feast as Lilia tells him that she can't control her urges any longer. She continues to beg Yuta for his elephant, so he asks her how desperate she is for this. Lilia reveals that solo missions don't work for her anymore, so she needs her master to with her, otherwise she will pass away. The fact about Lilia passing away if she doesn't mate is true, so our hero understands why she is being so keen on this. Lilia unleashes the beast within and begs for the session to begin as she is ready to do anything for it. She finally gets what she wants, and as expected, it's the best feeling she's ever had in her life. What happens after this is probably the dirtiest session we have ever seen on Comic Guzzlers, and then Lilia drops down after the biggest explosion of her life. Yuta is also tired, and he congratulates Lilia on finally losing her innocence. She can only talk about how amazing it felt, and she continues to wheeze so that she can recover. Lilia also states that since she now knows the true feeling of mating, she will never be able to think of anything else again for the rest of her life. Our hero teases Lilia, but this seems to work her up again, so she asks if they can go for another round, which is quite impressive considering she was barely gasping for breath after round 1. The problem is that not much can be done by an elephant with a soft trunk, and this makes Lilia upset. She wants to know what can be done to get our hero ready for round 2, so he says he needs to be brought into a mood. Lilia is confused, so Yuta tells her to make a shady pose for him. This makes her blush, but if she wants to get the elephant, then she will need to at least strike the leopardess pose. Lilia tries her best, but the pose is mid at best because it mostly depends on soft. She gets angry, so Yuta tells her to think of some poses herself. Lilia tries something extra shady, so our hero scolds her for not understanding the true meaning of allure. However, his elephant does awaken, and he has to explain that he has a teenage boy's body, so he will obviously respond to a cute girl's kitty. This gives Lilia an idea, so she asks if she can unleash her tongue twister 4000 on Yuta. No man in his right mind will ever say no to such a request, so he lets her have it. This seems to be doing the trick for our hero because the way Lilia unleashes this attack can completely envelop him. She does not know what she is doing with her, but it's deep, so that's all that matters. Lilia wants some elephant water, so she pulls out all the stops and upgrades to the tongue twister 8000 in order to get it. She eventually succeeds and relishes the taste of the elephant water. Lilia wants seconds, but Yuta doesn't think that will be possible at all. However, he does have the body of a teenage boy, so if it's not possible now, then it will never be possible. As these unspeakable acts continue behind closed doors, we can see Lumi, Misaki, Momo, and Haru all standing outside and listening to the couple, so it's getting hard for them to control themselves. Haru obviously doesn't get this, so she tells the girls to just go inside and make it a party, but they say that it would not be fair to Lilia. Momo asks Haru why she hasn't mated with Yuta yet because she is the closest to losing her life to the curse. She simply says that she refuses to do such a thing. She explains that if the only way out is to become intrusive beasts like the other girls, then she will happily give her life away, although this just sounds like a cranky feminist spewing nonsense. Suddenly, Yuta becomes a bit confused because there is no mark on Lilia's neck. Our hero worries that the curse may not have been lifted from her, but then he remembers Genius telling him that mating will surely save the girls from the curse. However, the bird god did not say anything about the neck mark, so it may not be relevant to the curse at all. However, Genius did admit to not knowing much about the curse himself, so Yuta is very confused right now. Lilia simply says that they'll continue until the mark shows up because she does not care about living. She only wants to mate with Yuta forever, which makes him blush. It's quite an achievement to make a Giga Chad blush, so Yuta asks Lilia why she is only interested in mating and not romance. However, before the conversation can move further, the bell rings, which means that it's time to change shifts for town watching. Haru decides to keep watch for now and bids the other girls farewell, but after she leaves, Misaki can see that there are drops of kitty water elixir that have fallen from Haru as well. Misaki does not understand why Haru is trying to be so high and mighty, but there's no point worrying about such things. Haru is now seen keeping a watch on the town while the night sky gazes upon her. Suddenly, Yuta shows up and offers to keep watch over the city, but Haru tells him it's none of his business as he is not a resident of the city. Our hero ignores her attitude and sits next to her, stating she doesn't need to be so cold. Now, he talks to her about moon breaking, which is the code name for passing away from the curse. Haru is the closest to moon breaking because she only has half a year left, whereas the others have already mated and saved their lives. Yuta asks Haru if she wants to, but she refuses once again because she is still being stubborn about not becoming a shady beast like the other girls. She then tells Yuta to leave, and he does so because there's no point wasting time with such a snob. After all, he doesn't care for Haru's attitude because he will surely end the god of deep jealousy within half a year. He then tells her that he will depart for the city of Lilu tomorrow. As he leaves, Yuta reassures Haru that he will not let her moon break while he is around. This makes her smile, but then the ball on her head suddenly breaks into two. This is a sign of moon breaking, but Haru still has half a year left, so it does not make sense to her. Now that the moon breaking has begun, Haru can only watch on as her body begins to glow, indicating that her end is near. She falls to the ground, but there is something that she needs to do, so she calls out to Yuta immediately. Our hero rushes to the scene, wanting to know what Haru has to say to him, but he is shocked to see her in her current state. Not knowing what to do, he asks Haru to stay with him, but she says that her moon breaking is happening now. Our hero can't believe what he is seeing, and Haru states that it has come quite early for her. Yuta panics, so he calls out to the other girls to come here and help him out. Of course, there is nothing that they can do either, so they simply gather around Haru to offer her some comfort. Misaki holds Haru's hand and comments that while it may be common for moon breaking to happen a bit earlier or later, it is quite rare to see it happen half a year in advance. Yuta wants to know what can be done, but Momo says that there is nothing to do about moon breaking. Our hero does not want to just stand there and watch Haru disintegrate, so he wonders if he will be able to save her by now. As he is considering it, Haru tells him that she knows what he is thinking. However, she does not want to live with shame, so she asks him not to do it. Yuta can't understand the logic behind this, but then again, if Haru is not keen on mating, then he can't really force it on her. Now, Misaki decides to pray for Haru and offers her a blessing, but Yuta can't get over the fact that the girls have accepted an end for their comrade so easily. He seems to be getting a bit too emotional, so the girls tell him to relax. Lumi asks him if he knows the number of people she and the quintet members have had to see off this way. In the city of Meath, the girls have to say goodbye to one person a week, and when there are overlaps, the number can go as high as several girls in a single day. Lumi adds that the people of Earth could probably live until the age of 80, but this is Drake's fantasy land, so the girls are used to saying farewell at the age of 20. You could even say it's God's plan. Momo states that if a girl gets ended by a Kali monster, then they don't go to heaven and their bodies don't disappear. In the case of moon breaking though, the victim goes to heaven and their body disappears. Haru says that living until moon breaking is a joyous occasion, but Yuta calls BS on this because it's no different from the religions from his world. This is all a way to make herself feel better, because if Momo had believed in this, then she would not have rushed to mate with Yuta the way she did. However, telling the truth may only cause further panic, so our hero decides not to say anything out loud. He can't grasp the concepts of this world, and that's when Haru tells him that she's sure he may be finding all of this to be very absurd. She then says that since Yuta has seen through all this madness, he will be the only one who can save the world. She wants our hero to make her world a place where people can live full lives in peace. This makes Yuta emotional, and he promises to correct the world for Haru. She has one final request for him, which is to touch her, so that she can see what all the fuss is about. Our hero does it and Haru can finally understand why the girls went so crazy for him. Haru smiles and says that she is very happy, but then she vanishes and Yuta's eyes are filled with tears. He realizes that Haru wanted to show him the madness of her world, and she has entrusted it to him to save her people. She might have been stubborn, but she was definitely noble, so Yuta will surely correct this world and save everyone from the curse. Misaki and the others begin the cleanup job, and they do it so casually that it makes Yuta figure out how much they are used to it. After all, if they would grieve at least once every week, then it would make their hearts really weak. Of course, we do see all the girls crying because they were close to Haru, and this is a very sad moment for them all.
After the sadness that just made this story more emotional than shady, we now see Lumi visiting Yuta with his lunch. She tells him that there should be enough food to last for a while, which makes sense because Yuta will be gone for at least 2 or 3 days. Yumi is a bit upset that her lover boy is leaving town, but Yuta doesn't really want to just sit there and do nothing. He needs to learn as much as he can about the god of deep jealousy, and going to the shrine is his best bet to get that information. Lumi knows this, but she is concerned that our hero is going alone. Yuta reminds her that she and the other girls will need to stay back and protect the town, especially now that they are down one member. It's best for him to be the only one in danger if things were to go sour. At this very moment, Lilia enters the room all happy and joyful to meet her lover boy. She says that the girls are throwing him a farewell party, so he should come to Misaki's roof right now. Yuta is a bit surprised to learn this, but he obliges and heads over to the roof where all the girls are waiting for him. He's quite impressed with the arrangements as there's grilled sweet fish on the menu as well. Lumi tells him that there are tree nuts as well, but the only nut Yuta is interested in is the liquid kind. Now, Misaki tells our hero that she would very much prefer it if he stayed with the girls in town. However, she's aware that Yuta is pretty much set in his ways on going to the shrine, and he explains that there's only so much his elephant can do to save girls via mating. After all, he's not like Kurosaki from Astro King who has an unlimited supply of nut cream. Yuta will not be satisfied until he saves all the girls of this world and removes the curse that made things so messed up in the first place. Momo is a bit surprised that Yuta is not considering the obvious danger over here. He is going up against a god whom nobody has ever heard of in over 3,000 years. However, our hero is not too bothered on that front because nothing seems to be able to handle his presence as a man, not even the Kali monsters. As a matter of fact, this world is on easy mode for our hero because no monster can harm him, and all the girls lose their minds just by touching him. The spread is in his favor, so he feels it's his responsibility to make light work of the enemy god and come back as the true king of this world. However, even he knows that it's nowhere near as easy as he's making it sound. On that note, Misaki brings out a bottle of booze and says that it's time to send off our hero with laughs and smiles. The name of this drink appears to be mead, and Misaki says that if you drink this, then it is believed you will eventually find your way home. Now, all the girls raise a toast to Yuta and his hopefully triumphant return to town. As they drink to their heart's content, the girls start to feel the effects of the mead almost instantly. The girls seem to find this extremely delicious, but Yuta is still a bit skeptical, so he confirms that this is just booze. Of course, the girls don't know what booze is, so they tell him it's mead. Yuta then realizes that he has no need to worry about alcohol and social restrictions because he's anyway gone past all that by doing shady things to all the girls. After taking his first sip, even Yuta is shocked as to how good it tastes. And then Lumi reveals that they only save this drink for special occasions. The drinking continues, and soon enough, Yuta finds himself a bit too intoxicated by the mead. He once again asks if this is pure alcohol, but it's not like the other girls are in their senses either. Lumi repeats that this is not alcohol, but rather mead, although it's pretty much the same thing. Now, Lilia smacks our hero's head with the bottle and tells him that it's not even over yet. She gets upset, thinking that her lover boy does not like her mead, but her breath reeks of booze, so Yuta points it out. The madness continues, but then Yuta takes a look at Misaki, who is crying over his departure. She tells him that she does not want him to leave at all, and then she starts crying like a rowdy drunk. Our hero realizes what's going on, but before he can offer any consolation to Misaki, Lumi approaches him from behind, but not to peg him. Instead, she holds a knife to his neck and asks him which of the girls he prefers the most. She will not accept a delayed response, which makes Yuta wonder how effective this mead really is. Lilia joins in on this, and both the girls argue over who Yuta likes better. Of course, our hero is in no mood to discuss this, and it leads to a rather hilarious situation. Emotions run high, and then Misaki decides to just step in and lock lips with her lover boy, rather than arguing with the other girls. She tells him that she was brought into this world for the sole purpose of mating with her lover boy, and even goes on to declare that Yuta does not need to be in love with her. This is extreme submission and a lot more than any pick-me girl would normally do. Misaki goes on to say a lot of shady things. So Yuta tells her to stop drinking before all her intrusive thoughts erupt out of nowhere. He tells Misaki that she will be pretty embarrassed after sobering up, so she should watch what she says. Momo adds to this by saying Yuta's only redeeming quality is that he is a man, but we all know she's just trying to act tough. She finishes her drink and compares our hero to mating machine, after which she says it's time to get shady. Of course, Yuta does not appreciate being treated like a living turkey baster, but it's too late to escape the clutches of the shady girls now. He realizes that immediately as Lilia attacks his elephant with the new and improved tongue twister 9000 Hawk Tua Deluxe. She even makes a cute face while doing such a shady thing, so our hero admits that Lilia is way too good at this. After one release, Lilia thanks her master for dessert, but this only kicks off a shady chain of events as Lumi starts to lose control as well. She gets ready to do the unspeakable, but Yuta wonders if everyone has forgotten that he is about to set out on a god-ending quest. Lumi basically has a waterfall dripping out of her kitty cat right now, so she tells her lover boy that she can't control herself anymore. Our hero once again asks her if she even knows what his mission is going to be, but then Lilia tells him to have some more mead. After all, he can't keep shooting unless he stays well hydrated, but Yuta is not sure what kind of shooting he should be doing in the first place. Plus, it's not like drinking mead is going to hydrate him either, but he figures he might as well go with the flow just like any other man of culture. However, after taking another sip, Yuta passes out, so the girls comment that their master is a lightweight when it comes to booze. Lumi then says that there's not much to be done with Yuta when he's asleep, so they should just make the most of what they have right now. This effectively means that the girls are going to have their way with him while he's knocked out, which would normally be considered a crime, but should be treated as divine salvation. Our hero wakes up to the shadiest sight imaginable and wonders if he is having a shady dream. However, this is not a dream, but rather what happens after you step into Heaven's Gate, so Yuta goes ahead with an extreme session. This is a rather long session, so even the narrator has to take a break to collect his thoughts. Yuta eventually admits that he really must be in heaven to be experiencing such a thing. This session goes on for way too long, and in all honesty, it should have been me. Anyway, after what felt like an eternity, the new day has come and so has everyone else, that too multiple times. The time for Yuta to leave has finally arrived, and as expected, none of the girls are pleased by this. Our hero comments that if this was a visual novel, this would be where he'd be getting a bad ending. Little does he know that there are thousands of men wishing they had gone to this world instead of him. Either way, he tells the girls goodbye as he must embark on his new journey. Our hero tells his girls that he will be seeing them soon, and they should take care of themselves, but the looks on their faces suggest that they don't want him to leave at all. Misaki asks once again if Yuta really has to go, so he tells her that it would be a big waste if the only man of this world just sat around mating all day. Also, he had promised Haru that he would put an end to the curse, so he will not go back on his word. Misaki understands his intentions, so she says that she will not stop him from achieving his goals. After all, he is the only one with the power to change this world. Misaki knows Yuta is the right man for the job, but then Momo says that nobody will complain if he just chooses to stay here and mate with them all day. She calls our hero a fool for risking his life, but he simply says that men have always been fools trying to protect women since the days of evolution. He then explains that the people of his world are nothing more than keyboard warriors trying to be woke all the time, but he can't afford such limited thinking in a world where he is the only man. After all, it has always been a man's job to protect women. Otherwise, the human race would have never survived for as long as it has. Yuta states that if the road ahead is dangerous, then it makes more sense for him to keep going. Momo is upset to hear this, but she knows our hero is right. Now, Lilia tells Yuta that he should just come back to her, and the tears in her eyes suggest she is really trying hard to be strong. She becomes emotional and says that she won't be able to mate anymore if Yuta doesn't come back. But this only makes him wonder if mating is the only thing on Lilia's mind. Lumi, on the other hand, can't stop crying, so Yuta simply tells her that he will be leaving now. She tells him that he has to make it back, no matter what, but her emotions seem to get the better of her. Lumi cries aggressively and apologizes for making this so dramatic for Yuta, but then she drops to the floor and continues crying her lungs out. She tells Yuta to leave, but Misaki can't just stand there and watch this. She then tells Lumi to pack her things and go with Yuta, which comes as a bit of a surprise to her. How is our hero going to succeed on his mission? Will Lumi now become his ultimate slave girl on this journey? Like, share, and subscribe if you also want to be sent to a female land where you're the only male. Keep showing love to this series because there are tons of chapters for me to cover, and I'm happy to make more videos if we keep getting views. Okay then, I'll see you in the next one.